Welcome back to Quilt Museum Television from the galleries of the National Quilt Museum. We're going to jump right into the show this time and take a look at the exhibit Fly Me to the Moon, which is a celebration of the 50th anniversary of the first moon landing. Let's go to our curator, Rachel Barr, for more information about this exhibit.
Hello, my name is Rachel Barr. I am the curator for the National Quilt Museum. Our latest exhibition is Fly Me to the Moon. It is curated by Suzanne Jones, and it commemorates the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of man's walk on the moon. We have 44 quilts in the collection. They are all 18 by 30, and this was a part of a juried exhibition of 179 quilts from artists all over the world. So we're fortunate that we have 44 of them here to show you. I'd like to share with you some details on a few of the quilts. The first one is Hunter's Moon, and this artist then takes into account the tradition or the folklore of the moon. The next quilt that I'd like to tell you a little bit about is the Apollo Wives. And the artist, when she heard about the celebration of the moon landings and the Apollo mission, her first thought was, well, what about the wives? So her quilt, the Apollo Wives, is a tribute to the lives of the 31 women who were married to Apollo astronauts. This exhibition visually invites you to travel through space, meet the astronauts, discover the story of the space mission, and relive your experiences and memories of the moon. Find endless inspiration and discover what the moon is really made of. Not green cheese, but fabric, tulle, thread, paint, silk, and crocheted lace. You will thoroughly enjoy this magnificent exhibition, Fly Me to the Moon. It will be at the National Quilt Museum until September the 4th. Thank you.
For more information about the exhibit Fly Me to the Moon, simply go to quiltmuseum.org/moon. Another exhibit that's being featured right now in our corner gallery is works by an artist named Barbara Schneider. Barbara came by a few weeks ago to talk about her works in the gallery. Let's go to that interview.
Well, good morning. I'm Barbara Schneider. I'm an artist that works with textiles, and I live in Woodstock, Illinois, and I have a studio in Harvard, Illinois. And I've been working in textiles since about 1998. So that's almost, well, it is 20 years now. So the work that I'm showing here at the National Quilt Museum today is called Leaf Patterns. And it's based on collecting real leaves and looking at them closely and turning them into something more. And one of the things I like about working that way is that by blowing up these pieces from what they were originally, people do see more. They see the pattern in the leaves, they see the shapes, they find things in them that you don't see when you look at them when they're just this litter on the ground in the fall. What got me started with that is all the patterns that were in the leaf that were created by insect damage or other things. I'm not even sure because I'm not a scientist. But I got that leaf and it really intrigued me, and I really didn't know what I would do with it for quite some time. And then eventually I started to use some of my hand-dyed fabrics and started to just create the leaf in a large shape, one by one. And I didn't know where these were going. For a long time, they sat around looking like placemats. And I'd arrange them this way and I'd arrange them that way, and I'd toss them down on the floor and look at them and think something's gonna happen. And nothing happened. So I put them away for a couple of years. And then at one point, I'm not even sure how I ended up thinking about this, but I ended up thinking, what if I shaped them? If I made them so that light and shadow would also contribute something to the look of them. And that was the start of this series of work. So by And I had to figure out how was I going to do that. And in the end, it's a pretty simple process of using stiffening glue, and then I literally shape them over cans and bottles and use pins and whatever it takes to achieve an interesting shape. And then by putting those together in groupings, the light and the shadow help bring them back to life. So this was leaf patterns variation 2. The first one was similar, and it was in the Art Quilt Elements show several years ago and has moved on. So I end up collecting most of the leaves that I work with in the late summer and fall. And there's a lot of material to work with at that time, so I don't usually keep things from year to year. But what I'm looking for is leaves that have interesting, as this one did, interesting insect damage, or that have been eaten so they look more like lace, or just by the whole drying process they start to change their shapes naturally, and then I try to emulate that shape. So I have some other examples to share with you. Tree bark fragments is a little bit of an extension from all the leaf pieces. I love to walk in the woods, and when I'm not looking for leaves, I started to see all the bits and pieces of tree bark that might have lichen on them, or that have interesting shapes in the way that they've peeled off of the tree itself. And this piece and the other two that are here in the show work with that as an exploration. So these were done by stitching with a double needle through 2 layers of cloth. The outside is a cotton and the inside is a cotton gauze called harem cloth. And I painted them out with fabric paint, and then I used a double needle to do all the stitching of the bark. And that was relatively meditative, at least at the start, because it was miles of stitching over about 2 yards of material for each of these. And then again, it comes back to the whole idea of shaping this. So I covered them in fabric glue, fabric stiffening glue, and shaped them over PVC pipe and any other rounded type things. I built up some shapes out of foam core, and it's just stuff in the studio to arrive at the shapes. And then again, it's the idea of looking both at that inside of the bark and the outside, and how these two encase one another in a beautiful arrangement. And this piece is called Leaf Fall Hollyhock. And again, it goes back to collecting these leaves. These probably were last a couple years ago in August. And the hollyhocks just have a wonderful shape in and of themselves, this big, frondy kind of shape. And I wanted to kind of capture the lightness that they had. So I did several different examples, painting Pellon, I painted gauze. I was trying to find a way to have that translucency and also find a better way of making all the holes than cutting them with the nail scissors. So I ended up with Luchador, which is a polyester fabric similar to an interfacing. And it comes in different weights. I chose the lighter weight, and in this case I wanted to add some of the stems or the veins with some wire so that they would hold the shape without needing quite as much of the stiffening happening. So polyester you can cut easily with a soldering tool or any kind of a heat tool. It will just allow you to draw on it and pop that shape right out. So that's how these were created. First tinting in a sense, very light tinting on the luchador, then attaching the veins, then doing all the stitching with like a double thread to get all the little patterns, and then burning out all the areas that are open, and then again trying to put together an arrangement of several of the leaves so that they made a very open and welcoming kind of arrangement on the wall.
For more information about our current exhibits or any future exhibits, simply go to quiltmuseum.org. Also, there are several adult workshops coming up in the next few months. To get information about them, go to quiltmuseum.org and click on the button for workshops. Lastly, please remember that the National Quilt Museum is a 501c3 nonprofit organization primarily funded by people passionate about quilting. For more information on how to support the museum and get involved, simply go to quiltmuseum.org/get involved. We'll leave you this month by taking a quick glimpse at the kids participating in Quilt Camp 2018. Thank you for watching Quilt Museum TV. We'll see you next month.